Good morning, children. I think you are doing well. You are utilizing all the video classes. So, this 4 days we discussed nervous coordination. Now, today I wanted to start chemical coordination. So, this chemical coordination is done by endocrine glands. We have glands in our body. The glands are exocrine glands and endocrine glands. Endocrine glands are ductless glands. They don't have any duct. So they will release their secretions directly into the bloodstream. Exocrine glands are having ducts so that they will release their secretions into directly the site of the action. Now these are generally called as enzymes. The exocrine glands, exocrine gland releases enzymes. Endocrine gland releases hormones. Exocrine glands, these enzymes will help in digestion. Hormones helps in various metabolic activities of the body. How they will help, we will discuss now. Next, they are basically and they are chemically, they are proteins. These endocrine glands of these hormones are maybe amino acids, steroids, peptides, or maybe some proteins. So now what are the various endocrine glands we have? What are the location? What are their functions? And everything, and how they will help in control and coordination of our body, that we are going to discuss. The first gland is pituitary gland. It is located at the base of the diencephalon, the forebrain. Now this pituitary gland is called master of endocrine orchestra, as it controls all the other glands, the activities of all the other glands. So that's why this pituitary gland is called master of endocrine glands. And it produces so many hormones, but according to our textbook we have only two hormones. The first one is growth hormone. The growth hormone, if it is secreted in a proper way, then it helps in the growth and development of the body. If any person is having this growth hormone is less amount, then the person will become dwarf. I think dwarf, like Lilliput. And if the secretion is more, excess of growth hormone is produced, then the person will be gigantic personality, more than 7 feet height. Next, the second hormone is thyroid stimulating hormone. You know thyroid gland, but this thyroid will be influenced by the hormone produced by the pituitary gland. The hormone is thyroid stimulating hormone. So this thyroid stimulating hormone help in the development of the thyroid gland and also influences thyroid gland to produce thyroxine. The next one is pineal gland, but this pineal gland we don't have information in the textbook. This pineal gland is called as a biological clock. Regularly at 12:10 we feel hungry, morning we wake up, night we are feel very sleepy, and menstrual cycle, seasonal changes, all these things are controlled by pineal gland. It produces a hormone called serotonin. The second one is thyroid gland. Thyroid gland, where is it located? You can observe. It is in the neck region. And the thyroid gland produces a hormone called thyroxine. What is that hormone? Thyroxine. And thyroxine will play a major role in our total metabolism. Total metabolism is nothing but we will have food. The food in the form of carbohydrate, proteins and fats. All these will get digested and converts into energy. The total process will be regulated by thyroxine. And what is the another function? It also controls our rate of respiration. So, what are the main functions of thyroxine? It maintains or controls the metabolism of our body. Second one, it controls the rate of respiration. This is thymus. Thymus also we don't have information in the textbook, but this thymus is the gland which reduces its size as we become older, as we grow older. And what is its function? It helps in the development of antibodies or WBC. This is stomach. Beneath the stomach, we have one digestive gland, that is pancreas. Pancreas will act as both exocrine and as well as endocrine. In the introduction of this topic, I already mentioned what is exocrine and what is endocrine. So this pancreas, as you know that pancreas produces pancreatic juice which contains amylase, lipase and trypsin. So which helps in the digestion of carbohydrates, proteins and fats. Next, it has a few cells, the islets of Langerhans. The structures called islets of Langerhans. These structures will help in the production of hormones. Two hormones our pancreas will produce. The two hormones are, one is insulin, the second one is glucagon. First one is insulin, second one is glucagon. And as this pancreas produces both enzymes and as well as hormones, this will be called as heterogland or mixed gland. What it is called? Heterogland or mixed gland. Now, what is the function of insulin? Insulin will maintain blood glucose levels and glucagon increases blood glucose levels. After the digestion of food, in our blood glucose levels will be more, or glucose levels in the blood will be more, because just now we had lunch and the lunch got digested and glucose levels will increase. At that time, the insulin will be secreted by pancreas and acts on this blood glucose, converts this glucose into energy and reserve food. Means how much you are eating, how much the food is getting digested, everything we will not be using on the same day. So, how much energy we require to do our various activities, it will supply energy in the form of ATP. So, it will be used immediately. But little left out energy will be there. The left out energy will be converted into and stored in liver in the form of glycogen. In lesson 1, life process, we discussed that plant reserve food material is starch, animal reserve food material is glycogen. So this glycogen, it will be converted into glycogen and stored in our liver, where it will be stored in the liver. Then what happens? Maybe when you are fasting on one day, or maybe night you did not had anything. So due to that, what happens? Your blood glucose levels will be less, because you did not do any digestion process, morning only you had, so that's why the glucose levels will be less. So that now what happens, now this glucagon, now insulin will not be produced by the pancreas. What will produce? Glucagon will produce. So this glucagon will act on the glycogen of the liver and converts this glycogen into glucose. How it will convert? Glycogen will be converted into glucose. Once the blood glucose levels are maintained, then again insulin will take up the action. I think I am clear. So, what I am going to say? Insulin, when blood glucose levels are more, insulin will be produced. When glucagon will produce, when the blood glucose levels are less. Is it clear? So, both work against to each other. The next gland is adrenal gland. Adrenal gland is present above the kidneys. Adrenal gland produces a hormone called adrenaline. In 8th class, you have little knowledge about it. It maintains the mineral level of the blood and also helps us to face the emergency situation or stressful situation. This is what you know in 8th class. But how it will act? Adrenaline directly releases into the blood, and it releases and directly affect the heart, and it increases the heartbeat, and furthermore various other reactions takes place to face the emergency situation. Page number 123, 7.3 paragraph. In that 7.3, third paragraph once you go through. Now adrenaline helps in facing the emergency situation. And in the previous lesson we discussed sympathetic nervous system. So when we are in scared or in a fearful situation or in an anger situation, our body will respond in this way we mentioned. So this also influenced by adrenaline gland. So adrenaline will first act on the heart. So that's why first heartbeat increases. It depends on the situation, what situation you are facing. Like a barking dog chasing you, your heartbeat increases, so that you will start running. So when you are running, your muscles needs more and more energy or more and more oxygen, so that the other unimportant systems, from unimportant systems, the blood will be directed to the muscles of the legs and make you to run very fast. As you are doing all these processes, the rate of breathing is also increases. So all these things will make you to reach a safe place. Now this is the scary situation, but different people will respond in a different way. So that's why this gland is called fight or flight hormone. What it is called? Fight or flight hormone. Fight means you will stand there and you will fight against the situation. If you are a very courageous person, or if you are a very scary person or a coward person, what you will do? You will run away from the situation. So both these things will represented by your adrenaline gland. What type of person you are, whether you are ready to face the problems or you will run away from the problems, will be decided by your adrenal gland. The next one is gonads. Gonads are both female and male reproductive organs. Female reproductive organ, you know that they are ovaries, and male reproductive organs are testes. Ovaries will produce two hormones. They are estrogen and progesterone. Male reproductive organ, the testis, will produce testosterone. Already you have little idea about it because you studied in 8th class. So this ovary estrogen helps in development of the secondary sexual characters like broadening of pelvic region, sweetening of the voice, development of the pubic hair, and all these points. And it also initiates a menstrual cycle. And here testis produces testosterone. The testosterone will help in bring out the secondary sexual characters like formation of mustache and beard, facial hair, broadening of the shoulders, then production of the sperm. Then what is the second hormone here? Progesterone. The progesterone will help in maintenance of the pregnancy. So these two are called gonads. Gonads are nothing but the male and female reproductive organs. In the previous lesson we discussed the limitations of the nervous coordination. So as actually we have very good nervous coordination, very comfortably we can respond for each and every situation. But the nerves coordination has two problems we discussed, that is limitations. The limitations page number also I mentioned. There are 2 points in the textbook. I think you might have gone through and you might have done the homework also, I believe. Now there are the two problems. What are the two problems? The first one is they will reach only to the cells which are connected only to the nervous tissue, and the second one, they will take some time to reset themselves. So these two problems can be rectified by following chemical coordination. Now what is the advantage of chemical coordination? Why we are depending on chemical coordination even though we have good nervous coordination? Because here they are ductless glands. They don't have any ducts. You can see here there is no any tube like structure. So they are the stimulated cells. They are stimulated cells. They will release their hormones directly into the bloodstream. So through blood they will reach each and every part of the body more effectively, persistently, and more effectively. And their effect, and they will reach the target organ. Every hormone will have a target organ, and they will reach target organ very comfortably through the blood. So that's why we are depending on the chemical coordination along with nervous coordination.